Hi, everybody. Sorry we're a little bit late. We had a few technical difficulties going on here. Of course, whenever I'm involved in anything technical, that's going to be the case. We're really lucky to be here with Summer Hanford, who wrote our mini-series, Ladies Always Shoot First, as well as Keely Beresford, who is the fabulous and talented narrator of the audiobook version of Ladies Always Shoot First. Hi, ladies.
Hello.
And Keely's coming to us, of course, from England. Where are you in England, Keely?
I'm near Bath. Do you know the Georgian city of Bath? Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I've never been there, but
I haven't been there either, eventually. When we come, we'll look you up. We'll have to make a point of going over there.
Please do.
So I believe, Summer, if I'm correct, you have some questions for Keely, and Keely, you have a few for Summer. Am I right?
I have questions for Keely, yes.
Why don't we start, Summer? Of course, Ladies Always Shoot First is a Regency four novellas. They're all connected somehow, friends, whatever, villains. There's a couple of villains that cross over there. Written by Summer, really, really fun stories. Go ahead, Summer. I'll let you go now.
Well, I do. I have a whole list of questions. I don't know exactly where to start. Some of them are more interesting than others. One thing
Start anywhere you like.
I was curious about your process. Do you read the whole book before you start? Do you read it several times? Do you go chapter by chapter?
Yes. Well, initially you read the whole book because you have to get a sense of the author. First off, I think it's really important because every author has their own rhythm, and then you get a sense of the character coming through for each particular, obviously, character. And because they're short stories as well, they have a lovely little structure, sort of like they're like a little jewel, if you like, perfectly formed.
That's very well said.
And
I don't know if
it's hard writing short stories. I mean, you would probably be able to say whether you find short stories easier or harder than the long form, but I think they're very skillful because you have to get the character and the whole sense of story into very few pages. I mean, it takes about 25-30 minutes to read them, and they're perfectly formed, so to speak. So yes, what I did with yours was I read the whole series first off. And you just want to do that, I think. I mean, for me personally, because you want to enjoy them first off, and which is what a book should do, right? Is take you to another time and place with different people, and so I get to enjoy them just as a reader. And then you go back, and then with these, I didn't read them all through again. I took them one by one then and broke them down, and you get to know the characters a lot more, and then voices start to come in your head, hopefully. Hopefully that translates into the recording. And then you start to put it to life and sort of see, how it feels in your own voice. And I also find that once I start, I tend to, the first sort of, 10 minutes or so, you're sort of like warming up. It's a bit like an athlete, really. You have to do a warm up. I mean, you do loads of exercises too, but actually reading is quite a different skill because you've got all the breathing. And I don't know if you have kids, but when you read to your children, it's the same thing.
Yes.
Yeah, and probably when you first started reading to them, I don't know, but you might have thought, oh, that wasn't so good, or I don't know,
I took speaking lessons for a while growing up, and speaking and lessons. So there's a lot about breathing, definitely.
Exactly. And so you kind of, I always have that kind of, I suppose about 10 minutes, and then you get on a roll, and then you get going, and it's great then because you're in the story. And I love your dialogue and your witty repartee, especially because it's lots of quick, short, snappy sentences, which make you smile. Of course, as the narrator, you can't burst out laughing in the middle of the sentence.
Not at the wrong time. Not at the wrong time. That could be very disastrous. I love it when my editor said, or I see an editor who says, "I laughed here, but I don't think that's what you wanted." And I'm thinking, no.
Oh, it's wonderful actually, and if the writing is good and it has that rhythm and the writer's experienced like you obviously are, it just flows, and it really is lovely. And to have written in such, I mean, I commend you, I applaud you. The
Ooh.
the vocabulary and the research you must have done for what was often used as phrases like sort of insults and just simple words like, I don't know, blackguard or something like a chortle or things that we wouldn't use these days. You pack your stories full of those, and I think that's wonderful. I really, everything rings true to me anyway.
Cool.
Thank you. That's right for you. That actually brought up another question I had is, do you get to do takes? I mean, what happens, what if you did cough or laughed or...
Oh my goodness, I do a lot of takes. With this one, actually, it was wonderful. I was working with Tim, who was the producer.
Oh,
So
yeah, producer, right.
and he's lovely. And I sent him the files, and you actually mark with a clicker when something isn't great. But for his sanity more than, well, for everybody's sanity, I would tend to take out the coughs and splutters, or just if I took a drink of water and it was very loud, because nobody wants that in their edit. So yes, you do. And also, if you listen back and a character's voice isn't strong enough, as sometimes because you forget sometimes to accentuate the voices when necessary, because when you record and then it goes into an MP3, it does flatten out the sound a little bit. You can't help it, the digital quality. And it's really sad sometimes. And you think, oh, I wish I'd done that more, with a bit more oomph, as we say over here. But yeah, so there's quite a few things, or something can happen outside, like we've got fireworks going off tonight, and you can't help that. I mean, the booth will only protect you from so much, but if you've got
behind you is
yes, this is yeah, and it's like a little cocoon, but some things do sort of get in. And it's very warm as well. You do warm up in here.
I actually listened to, I don't know if you did, Summer, but of course, I'm the person right now who listens to all our audiobooks to make sure that they are, they follow the stories, in case there's any little, because once in a while we'll make a mistake too, and if it's very small, the narrator will, follow it through, and I go, wait a minute, that word was wrong. And I listened to the whole, and it was really a beautiful narration. I loved it. I thought that you captured the spirit of the books beautifully. And one of the things I liked about these books was that each one was unique from the others. They weren't all exactly the same. And you did a beautiful job on it. They were very different.
Oh, they were brilliant, and they all had their own reason for being feisty or taking the initiative, and I loved that. And some of them did it very calmly, and others did it by accident. And it was so clever. Honestly, it was a delight to read all of them. Where did you get the idea from? Because there's 4 books, and so obviously a character is introduced that then becomes the main one for the next one and the next one. Where did you get the idea for that originally?
Yeah, how did that happen, Summer? Do you remember?
Did I write the first one and you told me to write 3 more?
I love this. Can you write more? And she said, oh, I think I can. She sat down and figured out 3 more after the first one.
That's great. Well done, Tara, because that was great. I mean, I think it's great because you don't repeat at all. Everything is fresh and new, but you get to know the characters a bit more because they come into the other books. So that was really nice. And the women, everyone loves strong women, right?
Hope so.
They were all strong women. Yeah.
They
I was
were.
very, I was very impressed with what she did with those. Those were the first books that she published with us, was those short stories.
Really?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Congratulations.
Well, the
Gosh.
hardest one to write was the fourth one, because I decided I wanted to redeem the bad guy, because, after I'd written the first one, I thought he must have had more reasons for what he did. It's a pretty bad thing that he did.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah.
I
Sorry.
love what she did with that villain. The way she made him the hero of book 4.
And you made him real. I mean, because so often it's very easy. In fact, funny enough, I read a book not so long ago where he'd been awful, this character, all the way through the book. And I was really looking forward to seeing what happened at the end, whether he got his comeuppance or whether he started to change or something. And it was such a letdown because he totally flipped and was suddenly, it was a bit of a cop out. Whereas this John, I think, I really enjoyed it because, yeah, he'd been kicked over to Ireland, and he'd obviously done a lot of soul searching, but it it wasn't a usual turnaround. I mean, the way it was very unusual, the Victoria storyline with Franklin and everything. I mean,
More bad.
that doesn't happen every day.
Yeah.
And I really loved it. I loved the fact that I won't give anything away. Sorry, I shouldn't. But I really, I gasped several times when I read that.
I did too. Yeah. When she told me she was going to do that, I thought, oh, that's interesting. I wonder how that's going to happen. But she really did a great job. And each book after that, short and long, has been only gotten better each time. So, yeah.
That's great, because you redeemed him, but also you showed that he still had weakness, because he did that trick at the beginning. I won't say any details, but it was really clever. It was and to do all that, as I was saying, to do all that in 25-30 minutes is incredible. It really is.
Okay. Tara, actually, I could make them a little longer now. Now when I do them, they're a little longer.
Well, the next one, in fact, I was looking at that. There's another short story series, that she's going to be doing. And I said, yeah, you can make them probably, I think, about twice that long, 12,000 words, maybe.
You said half-hour read, so I read out loud for half an hour. And the words, and I was like, oh, that's how many words I can read in half an hour. So that's what I did.
Yeah, well, even if it takes 45 minutes or an hour, that's a good lunchtime read. And a lot of people like to sit down and read a book, a whole story, and get a nice thrill out of it in a lunchtime. That's why we call them half-hour reads. Yeah,
that's really good.
Before bed, because I like to read something before bed, but I don't actually want to stay up. I mean, it's great when a book's so wonderful that the next thing you know, it's like 4 a.m., but it's also horrible because it's 4 a.m. Oh no,
it's 4 a.m. Oh, yeah, they're really good short stories. Okay, do you have more questions for Summer, Keely? Anything else?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'd like to know what attracted you to that sort of period, and why. I mean, I read your tiny little biography at the back of the book, but it didn't give me much as to why you chose that sort of period, and because it's difficult, it's hard to stay true to that genre and not fall back into modern sensibilities every so often, and you didn't, your dialogue and everything. So are you a really old soul in a young body, or
I don't know if I call Summer an old soul.
I grew up watching a lot of British television, so that definitely helped. And a lot of it was older. Not that old, obviously.
And Summer has written a lot of Pride and Prejudice variations.
That is how I got started. I write Pride and Prejudice variations with a co-author, and I love doing them, and I enjoy the readership and how popular they are. But then in their way, they're restrictive because I can't make up many new characters. I can't take the plot line too far afield. So I wanted to, maybe branch out a little. And that's I've spent years writing those, and doing research about the time period, but I wanted more sword fights and pistol people, threatening each other with pistols. And
you pack in a lot of pistols. I love that everyone carries I love that they whip them out. Do you find when you're really involved in writing one of the stories, do you start to read it out? Has somebody got
No,
Oh, that's Summer's dog.
he has a really big bark. He was out of the house, but we got the time zones messed up, and now he's back.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's not your fault.
Yeah, no, this is what I was going to say was, do you find you start talking a little bit like, I'm not saying in an English accent, but sort of your phrasing, you become very polite or with your family?
I tend to be very polite, so maybe it's more the other way around. Maybe I was drawn to that era.
I do think that's the case, though. I've been told that I speak like I write. And I said, no, I don't. But when my daughter was about 2, my brother, she's 20 now, when my brother called me up and he was talking on the phone and she came running in the room. Shall we go, Mommy? Shall we go? And he said, shall we go? I said, I guess that's what I say to her. And I never realized it.
That's adorable.
It was, and the first book I ever wrote, somebody said to me, the first thing I have to say to you is that this is the way you speak. And I thought, no, it's not. I don't talk like a Regency woman.
Well,
but I guess there's something there. So I would say so.
Well, and I work hard to write sort of how I speak because Tara's heard me say this before, but one of my first stories ever published, probably the second, years ago, it's modern, it's a sci-fi, there's tons of cursing, and I don't curse. So then at some point I was asked to read it aloud, and I'm going through trying to find a section. I'm like, I can't read this. You know, I can't do a reading from this. So I learned my lesson about not writing how I speak.
That's really, and do you find it just flows out of you once you start a story, or do you have to plan quite a bit?
I'm a planner. I outline the whole story and break down by chapter. Yep. But
so you know the end before you start writing.
Yes, I'm a definite planner. I like to know everything. I'm not one of those let my characters. I mean, the characters somewhat define it because as I write, I get to know the characters better, and then you have to say to yourself, that's not how that character would handle that situation. But I do know that all the main points of the story before I start.
And do you ever ask your husband how he would react to something to get the male perspective, or is it just because obviously he's not back then, but it's just men and women do, they have a different way of putting things most of the time, and in extreme circumstances, and you seem to get that really well as well, which that makes me laugh too. When you're reading something and the male, you think, oh, that's so him. And that's really nice. That's a really nice, well, it's a great skill to have too. And I just wondered if you have a lot of male friends that.
I grew up, with all guy friends. Yeah, I have 2 brothers, so I have a younger sister as well, but she's actually she's a fair amount younger than the rest of us.
Oh, okay.
Poor little sister.
And how about you, Tara? Because I haven't read any of yours. I really must read some of yours.
I do talk. I have my brother, my youngest brother I'm very close with, and I'll call him up and ask him stuff. And then I have a guy a very close friend that I write with also, not historical romance, but other, contemporary, and I'll get his opinion often. Oh yeah. Yeah. I'll say, what do you think would they, and they have both given me, it's the small things, in my opinion, that make the difference. Because as a writer, if you're a decent writer, and Summer's a very talented writer, so she's got a lot of great insight, which you have to be a good writer. And so the major stuff will probably have, speaking for myself, I'll have down the major stuff. But the details, the devil's in the details. And those little details make all the difference in projecting the male perspective, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be as much as a word choice. The two words can mean the same thing, but
Yeah.
one will be one a man will
Yeah.
generally.
And we men and women, we all feel the same way: jealousy, hate, love, fear, and all that stuff. It's how we express it. You know. I know. That's like saying, the sky is blue, right?
Oh
But
no,
it's and what the difference is, men are from, what is it? Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. They say for years. The difference is we might feel the same way, but we come at it from such a different perspective.
No, is Keely frozen on yours?
Oh, yeah. Uh-oh. Keely is now frozen on our screen. Uh-oh, we may have lost her.
Frozen. I bet she can still hear us. I'll talk some more about her browser.
Oh, we may have lost Keely here.
No, but I had more questions for her.
I know. Oh, she'll be back. Let me see if we've lost her here. Oh.
Because she's so far away.
Oh, now we lost her. Okay, now she'll probably have to come back in. The male gods are angry that we were talking about. We weren't saying anything about that, though.
I think they designed the technology.
Oh, I think there's a lot of women who work on technology too, but that could very well be. Let's see if we've lost her here. Oh, man.
I hope there is.
I bet she's not online because I don't see her at all. Oh, man. I had more. Oh, there she is. Let me bring her back in.
Maybe one of those fireworks went awry. I wonder what they're celebrating.
There you are. Can you see us, Keely? Oh, there we go. Are you there?
I can't see her.
It's showing that she's here, but she's still only seeing a picture of her. Oh, Lord.
But I didn't get to ask my questions.
I know. I had plenty more too. Oh, are you there, Keely?
Hello.
Oh, you're coming in and out. Oh, the reception is odd. Did we lose you totally? Uh-oh. Hold on. Let me see if I can. I think we've lost her completely here. Now, the internet is supposed to not do that to us. So let's.
Pretty sure it's one of the things that the internet's good at.
Uh-oh. We're seeing a picture of her, but she's not.
Oh, I don't even get a picture of her.
Oh, you don't see the picture at all?
I just have her name. It just says her name there.
Oh, that's too bad. Oh, wait, now she's gone. She's probably going to try it again. Oh, see,
Please cut out the part.
yeah. Well, on the audio, it'll be when we put it up on YouTube, it'll stay there. But I'm going to send these over to Tim and get him to maybe put them up. Maybe he can cut them out for us. Oh, phooey.
See if you can just cut it out from when she disappeared until she comes back.
She's trying to reconnect. She's having a devil of a time, poor kid. Oh, there she is. Let's try it again. I see her.
I'm so sorry about that.
Oh, it's not your fault. No, don't worry about it. I don't think you have much say over the technology.
Well, it's 7:30 now. It could be that everyone's come in from firework displays and things, and they're all streaming. I don't know. It could be that. Sorry?
What are they celebrating?
Oh, fireworks. We have on the 5th of November, so Monday this year, we have Guy Fawkes Night when they try to blow up the Houses of Parliament. And so what do the Brits do? They celebrate this by having fireworks. And because it's the Saturday night before bonfire night, they also build a bonfire and stick Guy Fawkes on. Oh, hello.
Hi, Charlotte. Charlotte's saying hi. How are you? So, okay, Summer, now you had more questions for Keely. So
I did. I have lots of questions, but another one is, what happens if you don't know how to pronounce a word, or if there's a word that people disagree on how it's pronounced? What do you do about that?
That's very interesting. Well, in my mind, the author is king or queen in this case. And so when you've written something, unless there's obviously, because not everyone can know everything. And so someone in their heads may be saying a word incorrectly and the dictionary or whatever, which is very useful. You can now go online and say, how do I pronounce blah, blah, blah. And the over here, it's the Oxford English Dictionary and Collins. They are usually pretty good. In fact, they give us American and British. But I will, if there's any doubt in my mind, I would always try and ask the author, especially names of characters, funny enough, because obviously, unless they are blink and you'll miss them, they're going to come up through the book. And so you don't want to be saying a beloved character's name wrongly.
I actually had a narrator do that on a book. And I had to say, you've done this wrong for quite a while. You got to fix it.
Oh, no.
And that's a lot of work.
I
I'm sure it is, yeah.
Yeah. And then
Oh no, she froze
Oh
again.
no, she froze up again.
every
Questions.
word. Oh, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah, good.
Oh, good. I was just going to say, also, you're writing in beautifully British English. And so we say things differently to Americans often. And so then you sometimes have to double check, obviously not with period pieces, but with contemporary pieces. You do need to check what the author wants.
What if that's not my phone?
No, it's my phone. Ignore it. Nobody ever calls me until now. That's my landline. It never rings.
What if? How do you feel about when authors? Because I do this, and it never occurred to me to worry about it before. But if say I'm writing in Scotland, I'll Google Gaelic words and use them for the place names. Does that drive you insane? Because I don't know how to pronounce those words.
No. You would have to get the right pronunciation. I think it's really important. In fact, I did do a book. It's still waiting to be approved, but there were only a couple, but they were very Celtic words, and it's really important to try and get them right. I mean, to the best of my ability, I cannot roll my R's. I can wolf whistle louder than anyone I know.
Really?
I can really whistle because I used to have dogs too. It came in very handy.
Can we hear
But
it?
it'll
Should I
really.
plug my ears?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. It was really loud in here. Anyway, maybe it didn't translate, but it is quite loud. Anyway, but I can't roll my R's. And in certainly in the Scottish Burr, it's lovely. They roll their R's beautifully, and it's something I've tried and tried.
Right.
But it's just something I wasn't born with, sadly.
Yeah, I can't roll my R's either.
No, and I just wish everyone that sort of hears me whistle says, oh, I wish I could do that. And I say, yeah, but can you roll your R's? And they're like, yeah, I wish I could do that.
I wish I could. I can't do it like that either. It's I can't really narrate, but it's a joke.
Oh no, it's a beautiful thing to be able to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
It sounds so cool. I love it. And
it's very warm. There's something about it that's very warm and inviting. It really is.
Yeah.
Even when they get mad and talk that way, I think I love it.
I know. I had an Irish boyfriend, and if we'd argue, I'd just start smiling at him.
Yeah.
That's funny.
You when they're telling you, I knew a gal one time. She was talking about her husband, and she was kind of peeved at him, and same thing. All I could do is laugh because I'm thinking, I really can't take you seriously.
It sounds so wonderful. The Southern Irish accent, especially for me, just sounds so beautiful that even if someone swears at you, you sort of you don't mind. You really you just say okay.
Yeah, well, that's a good way to diffuse an argument.
Yeah. It certainly is. So back to your original question, I think it's very important to get it right, and to do everything you can. I mean, the author researched enough to get the word, so you need to research to get the pronunciation if you can. And sometimes there are different. You can pronounce one word several ways.
Yeah.
And so you just have to then go with one and stick with it if it repeats. But yeah, that's a challenge that comes up, which is fun,
Now, I have a question for you. And
Yes.
without naming names, what do you do when you get a book that you don't like, that you're not in love with?
In my personal experience, I haven't done one of those. I mean,
That's good.
I haven't done because I wrote on my website, actually, you really do on the audiobook page, you have to love a book.
I would think so.
Oh my God, it's such a it takes over your life. It really does. And that's no word of a lie. You do. I mean, you get inside a book even more than the author, because it's so quick to write a sentence if you're on a roll. But actually, when you're narrating something, you have to bring each person to life. And I get very protective of the characters too. So if I've said something and I think, actually, no, that wasn't, I don't know, John or Harry or somebody, I'll have to go back, because you can't be untrue to your characters.
Right.
And so, yeah, I just have no experience as yet.
Yeah. That's great.
Well, yeah, no, my authors have been absolutely lovely. And also, I think if something doesn't speak to you, I think it would almost be wrong if you did say you would do it, because you wouldn't give it your all. Maybe I've never done a non-fiction, so I don't know. That's quite different, I think. And I think you're just trying to connect with an audience on a different level. You're imparting information. You're trying to keep it interesting, and if there's humor in it, you bring out the humor. But I don't think you have to love it so much as a character-driven piece. And also, I think if something was badly written, not necessarily that you didn't like the story, but it was well written. But if something's badly written, it's very difficult to narrate, because there's no flow, and it's not true, it's not believable, and you think, well, they just wouldn't say, or in your head you do literally, and coming from an acting background, it really does stand out a mile. So yeah, I don't think I could, because you spend hours with these characters.
I think it's really very much the same for the narrators as it is for the authors, in the sense that it's totally inside your head.
Yeah.
Because you guys you have to live like us, every single word. You have to live it.
Oh, completely. And sometimes you live it several times because you've said it wrong.
Trust me, the rewrites, oh my God. For me, every single book I write at some point becomes that stupid book. Every one of them. You're like, how many times can I look at this? But you look at it until it's done, but you're like, wow.
Actually, that's true. You have it worse in a way, because we as narrators, it's all done and there's a finish line. Whereas as an author, it must be awfully difficult to finally let it go and say, no, enough tinkering.
Oh no, it's not difficult at all. I have an axe and I cut that tie. And in fact, most of the time I have to say to myself, no, you're not done. You can't cut the tie yet. But boy, when it's ready to go, I'm like shoving that sucker away. I'm so done. And I love the characters, but and now you get some distance and you come back to it, of course. But when you're writing that first draft, and you got to go back through everything, and then depending on how edits are, you still end up reading the book several times over after you've written it.
That must be the opposite. You probably don't like to get distance when you're narrating. You probably like to have it all, because I agree with Tara. It's best if you can take a story you think is done and put it away for a while and then get it back out and then edit it again from the start. You typically don't want to do
I was just distracted. Alice Castle has just said, in my mind, a sing-song happens as I read a badly written book. It just made me laugh. That's very good, Alice.
Let me see. I had more questions. Do you have, and this is so I can do better. Actually, do you have pet peeves that authors do? Are there things authors do that you're like, oh?
There's repetition, actually. If someone, you can get hung up on different ways of saying he said or she said, and sometimes authors have. We do in life, don't we? We say things. My father, for example, I know this is weird, but he used to, he doesn't do it so much now, but he went through phases of having a word that he would always say, like, actually, da 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 da. And you're like, oh, enough. Or at the end of the day. And he would say it for about a month, every sentence practically, and it would drive us all a little bit insane. So we all have those kind of speech patterns, I suppose they're called, really, based on where we've come from and, our experiences and everything, and who we hang out with as well. You can really pick up.
Well,
oh my goodness!
And when you're writing that first draft, I assume this is probably the same for Summer, because I've read her first drafts, which are always very good. I mean, she writes a great first draft. But we all still, when you're writing that first draft and you're really getting it down and you're learning exactly who the characters are and every little detail of their responses, your go-to responses will sometimes start stacking up until you go back through to really make all those details pan out. Like nodding. My editor will go, okay, how many times can she nod? And I'm like, well, I know. Okay, so I missed that. Yes, I realize she should nod like only about a third of what she does. So that's what editors are for.
Yeah, I've gotten hung up on grimace, or how do you pronounce that word?
Yeah.
Instead of frowning, I'll just use that over and over.
Yeah. There's quite a lot of eye rolling goes on in contemporary literature these days.
And it's the same and I think I saw that recently in something. How many more times can she do this? That I roll her eyes or just, and I'm like going, okay, yeah, I know, I get it. You're right. Well, and we miss it. We actually miss that because we're seeing something else in our heads. We don't see that. That's
that's interesting, actually. Yeah. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
So no, I mean, and if you like an author as well, you forgive them anything, actually. You're so into the story and so into the characters that I think your brain it's like taking a bubble bath. It just is having such a good time that you just don't notice after a while if something's annoying you.
That's right. Yeah,
it's true. You do get when you're narrating, do you read a few pages at a time or a chapter at a time? Do you read the section first? Oh, always read the section first before narrating it. Otherwise, that would be very interesting. There would be a lot of surprises coming up. And especially as authors often mix it up. And so they'll do a line of speech and they'll say, he said in a very gruff, whispery voice. And you're like,
yeah.
Oh, damn. So you have to go back. But yes, always read. And it's great fun. I was saying at the very beginning that for me, I'm very selfish in a way in that I love to enjoy a book first before narrating it. So I will read it all the way through as a reader. And I can do that. And then you go back and start to work it over. So you sort of see which characters come in at each chapter, what the chapter, if you can summarize a chapter in a sentence at the beginning, that's kind of handy too.
That's interesting, because one of the questions I had, or the thoughts that I just had when I was, all that information that you as the narrator must remember about each, like you said, he speaks gruffly here, she's surprised there. You kind of have to know all that stuff before you're reading it, every sentence, to get it right.
I think
that's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, actually. You do really dissect the text, but the best narrators are just beautiful at it, and they read. I mean, you get better, you get faster, and sight reading is a skill that you actually can improve at, which is great.
Okay.
And the brain becomes very clever, and you read ahead of actually what you're saying.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
You don't realize you're doing it, but you do. So although you'll mark up the text, obviously, for example, if you've forgotten something or if you've highlighted something in green and you're like, oh my God, what was green again? has a whisper. Okay, green's the whisper. So you and the most skillful of all, they do it, and they change their voices so slightly,
Mhm.
but so skillfully that you just, your ear hears it and you go, oh, I know who's
I've been
speaking.
wondering
Yeah.
about that. Do you enjoy doing different voices? Do you get to decide? Does someone decide for you if you do different voices? Or is it how you?
No, it's your choice. In my experience, anyway. I guess if it was maybe a massive high-profile book, and the author or the publisher had a particular, I don't know, idea
You know, he's a
about
publisher.
something.
They don't let us make those decisions.
Yeah, then they would come in and actually say, look, this is the tone of the book, or this, and you would have a meeting with them first.
Mhm.
But usually you audition
Mhm.
for them, and they go, yeah, actually I like your take,
Yeah.
and then it's over to you. That is part of your job, is to make the choices. And
Yep.
actually I had authors say to me, do you know, I didn't hear him like that, but actually it really fit, which is nice to hear, because you think, oh my god. And so yeah, you come at it I guess with a kind of actor's brain, because every time you get a part in a role, you have to create that character. So
Mhm.
you think about them, and you think about how fast their heart beats, or how fast they walk, or how what they would wear, or unless it's described obviously, or what sort of music they'd like. And a lot of it's given to you in the text if it's that sort of book, and the voice will then come from that.
Mhm.
um, so yeah, but also accents, obviously, if they've come from a particular part of the country,
Right.
then you have to do your best and try and be true to that. But if it's like a fantasy or something, then you pretty much got free reign, because who's to say? I mean, we've got a female Doctor Who now,
I
and
know.
there was a bit of
Oh,
an
I
uproar about it,
know.
and he's an alien, so how can they? So they have really no feet to stand on to say it has to be a male. So yeah, so then you've got free reign, and I think, and it's up to you then, in your mind, in your imagination, to just create this whole world and to make people care about them. I think it's really important. If you listen to an audiobook and you think, oh, I really care about those
Yeah.
characters, I think that's the biggest compliment of all, actually.
A narrator can make or break the audio version of a book. I mean, I've listened to some where I loved the books and I had a hard time listening to the narrator, and some where the books were so, but I loved the narrator so much I would listen to it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Sometimes the narrator can make you forgive anything.
yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely. And I do remember your demo, the little demo you did. It was great, which is why we said we wanted you to do the mini series. And when I listened to the whole thing, I fell in love with it.
Well, now
Oh.
I see why you do such an amazing job. I really didn't know how much you put into it, how much time and how much thought. And I
Oh
mean,
no,
I assumed you read it and then read it again. I didn't know.
no, you do. You fall in love with them, the stories, and you really care. That's why you want it to be truthful, and get it across as well as you can, because that's a tribute to good writing, isn't it? Really,
Yeah,
I mean, I know, not excuse me, from feedback I've had, I know you can't please everyone,
yeah,
and your voice, not everyone will like your voice. It just won't happen. um, but I think if you've really done your homework and you really care about the story, I hope that will come across, you know,
I think it
somehow.
does. I think it
Yeah,
definitely does.
oh,
I
it
hope.
does. Yeah, you did a great job. You did a beautiful job.
Well, I think they're so cleverly linked as well. I mean, you were saying you could read them in a lunchtime.
Yeah,
I think it's a great idea, because this would be a really nice week of lunches, and they're really, and you laugh with them, and they make you feel good, but also not that kind of, they're not sickly sweet at all. They're
no.
really quite,
Summer's not
they're
sick. No, no.
no, they make you feel satisfied, and I really like that.
Yeah,
I think
you
it
can even, you can listen to, if you have if somebody buys the whole audio collection, which is how it comes, they can listen to, it's for like 4 lunches essentially, roughly. You can
yeah,
listen
exactly.
to eat your lunch and listen to one, and then the next day. That's about how long they are. 30 minutes or so, roughly.
And I think it's one, and also this whole webinar thing gave me a chance to reread them, and I'd
Oh,
forgotten how much I'd enjoyed them. And it was
fun,
great.
aren't they? Mhm.
I mean, when did we do them? It was earlier this year,
Oh,
wasn't
it
it?
was earlier in the year, exactly. Yeah.
And you can reread them this soon after
Oh,
reading
easily,
them originally, and they
easily.
are totally fresh and totally. So I love that, and I think that's a huge tribute to the author too.
I listen to a lot of my audiobooks more than once. A lot of them.
Oh,
The ones I really like, I listen to every couple of years again.
that's
Yeah,
wonderful. Yeah,
definitely. Did you have any other questions for Summer, Keely?
my goodness.
I have one more question.
Oh, you have one more question. Oh, go ahead, Summer. Okay.
I have a whole list,
Okay.
I was curious, do you prefer to read dialogue, or do you prefer to read description or action? Do you
Oh,
have a
definitely. For me, because my voice, because after a while you get, it's very nice and good writing. It's great and it's beautiful to read the descriptions and stuff. But I think if I was brutally honest, yeah, I have to be honest, I do love the dialogue and I do love the action scenes. Um, just purely because because I don't know, they're alive, they're people. And
Right.
you can really, like, even if and in fact, if it's a very tragic scene, it's really moving. I've cried in this booth more than once about something. And again, because you care about the characters so much. And I think, yeah, yes, I would have to say dialogue and action because um, you have a real visceral connection with
Yeah,
that,
you
I
do.
think. I think
And,
it's a bit like
audio is
painting.
audio, so you want to hear people speaking.
Yes, and
Yeah.
I think it's um the descriptive passages are sort of like a painting where you're painting the background. But then when you really get down to the nitty-gritty bit, that's the sort of, and it doesn't have to be, they could be saying something totally sort of plain and quite sort of calmly, but it's still giving you an insight into how they're thinking and
Yeah.
where they're coming from and all that sort. And they could also be not saying what they want to say
Right,
as
exactly.
well.
Yeah.
So there's all that going on, and you really do. I love banter, and you're so good at banter. I've written that down actually. Summer is so good at banter
She's
because
She's very
it's
good.
so, yeah, in those four, and you have different, every heroine, if you like, has a different voice and a different style, um, but they're all very pretty self-assured and sort of so clever with their words. I think everyone was, well, I don't know if everyone was clever with their words in the old days. You can't say that, can you? But they
They
certainly
played a
were
lot more
quite.
word games than we do now. So maybe
Sorry.
they played a lot more word games, games that were just revolved around using words. So yeah,
Cool.
maybe they were more clever with their words. I don't know.
I think that's a shame we don't do more of that now, because everyone's texting and typing and
Yeah.
things. But yeah, so I love that repartee and the bam bam bam. You can edit, but also if you're on a roll as a narrator, you can get going with that and hopefully not trip over. And almost do it without edit, and change from one voice to another. And as I said, I have burst out laughing in the booth before now because the banter is so great.
I think on my end, once I received the files from Tim, as far as I recall, we had very few changes. And anything we did, it was very tiny. You did a great job.
Oh,
It was
thank
really,
you.
and Summer is good at banter because that's how she is in real life. She's very pithy and very clever, and And she's a straight man, though. You see, she looks very innocent, but she's not. I've met her in real life, so I can say this. And she'll come in and all sweet and everything, and she'll be reading or looking at something and speaking that soft voice, but the words coming out are just perfect every time. So that's why it comes out.
Quiet
Oh my gosh. Exactly.
We all need to be a bit more quiet, I think. The ones who listen are usually the ones that have the most to say, funny enough, or the best things to say.
Yeah, very true.
No, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. It was such a pleasure to read the books. It really was. Yeah, and they're so much fun to dip into again, like I've just done. It was great, actually. It was so nice to revisit the characters again.
I believe you because you did such a great job with the narration. So I think that that's a tribute to Summer. She is really immensely talented. Yeah.
I mean,
Write more.
She's got quite a few that are in the works and are coming out. This next year, there's going to be quite a few more.
Oh, but like
brilliant.
you said, you really bring it to life. I mean, when I read it, it's all quiet in my head.
I mean, I'm loud.
I'm not sure your head is not quiet, Summer. I don't believe that for a second. No way.
Quiet in there.
No, you've got a dragon on your wall. How can your head be quiet?
She's got a dragon on her wall and a 9-ring circus in her head. I suspect is more like she's. I think she's working on at least 2 or 3 projects at a time.
Well,
oh wow!
Oh yeah.
That doesn't mean it's not quiet in there.
Yeah, it does. All those people, at least 2 or 3 that I know of anyway. She might be doing more.
What about when, and I'll stop some of my questions soon because it's been almost an hour, but what about when a character talks in their own head? Because
yeah, that can happen quite a bit, and it's usually italicized sometimes in the text. Writers like to do that these days. I usually it's just a particular thing of mine. I go closer to the mic, and that gives it a different quality. Obviously, you have to drop your voice slightly because otherwise you'd peak. You'd go off the mic scale. Excuse me. But yeah, I kind of try and make it sound more intimate. And also if they're dreaming as well, if there's a dream sequence, I tend to do that as well. Yeah, I think that's sort of.
I didn't think about that. The distance, that makes sense.
Yes, it does change it quite a lot, actually.
Yeah, because I heard you do it in one scene, and
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yes, but you have to be careful because then obviously you can pop a lot more as well. So you have to sort of adjust everything. But it's nice. I kind of like that because you really, I mean, that's the innermost thoughts of a character. So it's quite intense actually. Unless obviously it's a crazy action dream or something that they're doing, and then you have to kind of temper the kind of screaming with the inner voice.
I'm just impressed with how much thought and everything that you put into.
Oh yeah, and don't get me wrong, I've learned. Oh my goodness, when I started out, I really didn't realize how much. Well, I knew how much work I'd done with the book. But then when you're in the booth, you have to do a lot of work too, practicing with your voice and hearing how something sounds and things. And it's a funny game because some people prefer your performance over the top, and some people like it brought right back. So you'd get a comment like, oh, all the voices sound the same. And then other people will go, oh, the voices sound too different. It's too distracting. And you're just like, so what do I do? Do I record 2 versions? I don't know. And so I've learned a lot. And also breathing wise, I mean, we were talking about that at the beginning, but
Yeah.
just breath control. It
Mhm.
takes, I think it probably does take a good 10 minutes once you've sat down in the booth to actually fully calm down and get into the audiobook world, if you like.
Right.
And so there's all that.
Right.
Also what you can, how well you can scream or shout or cry, all those sorts of things.
You're an actor. You're acting to, at least to a large degree. You may not be in front of a camera, but
Oh,
your
yeah.
voice is totally
Oh,
you're doing the same thing.
I think it's important. I mean, I've done quite a bit of radio drama, and
Oh,
it's you. I think if you believe in a character, if you are the character, then it
mhm.
comes through in your voice. But obviously, it's a lot harder because you haven't got your facial expressions when
Right. Yeah.
making
It's,
um,
it's its own talent, without a doubt. There are some narrators who just completely whisk you away,
yeah.
and they are just so good, and others who may not be as good. There's just something about but yours. I loved what you did. Honest to God, when I read the first, I think I got the first book on its own, Captured by a Duke, and which is a story I love because it's just a jaunty, fun romp. It's really a true Regency. It's a true Regency. They all are, that one embodies everything. The whole thing, that in the beginning when they're riding in the carriage and she's got her curls and she's like, "What are we doing?" And your voice was beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. I fell in love with it. Yep. Hmm. We're looking for some
I,
more. We're looking forward to you doing more work with us down the road.
oh, I hope so, because I
Oh,
love reading
absolutely. Yeah.
and writing.
Yeah.
It's so joyous.
Hmm.
And Tim summed it up perfectly as well. He said, wrote beautifully, beautiful. What did he say? Beautiful something stories. I can't remember the exact word he said, but it that was before I'd read anything. And then
Oh,
I
yeah.
read and I was like, oh, I know what he said. Oh, what was the word he used?
Oh,
Sorry, I
you mean Tim? Tim said that, or
yeah, Tim said
oh,
that.
okay.
Yeah,
And he did a beautiful job of putting it all together afterwards. The production was fabulous, I thought.
yeah,
The
he's
whole thing.
lovely.
Well, we're close to an hour. Do you any other question for each other at all, or
Um,
Like that.
I know summer could go on for a while. There's always so many cool things to ask, but we will definitely do this again.
oh, good. That would be
Yeah,
great.
definitely. When we do some more recordings, we would love to do it. Thank you so much for being here with us, Keely, and of course, Summer.
Not at
And
all. It's been my pleasure. Sorry about the time difference.
oh, that's okay. Don't worry. For anybody who's wondering, you can pick up you can go to our website and you can follow a couple links and listen to some samples of this beautiful recording. Oh, let's see, we've got Joanne is here. Hi, Joanne. How are you? Nice to see you here. Um, so you can go there and take a look and listen to the samples there of Ladies Always Shoot First. You won't be disappointed. Keely did a beautiful job, and the books are truly a loads, real Regency romps, every one of them. Even when our villain got redeemed, she did a great job of it. Oh, here we go. Hi, Alice. You're very welcome. Thanks for being here with us.
Yes.
It's great to have everybody here. All right, we will say bye to good afternoon to everybody here. It's it's early enough here in New York for us to do a little work, and I'm sure Keely would like to get go and maybe take a little bit of a break. She was out all day at the fireworks and then came here, and we really appreciate it. But we'll see everybody again soon. Anybody wants, they can see these interviews on our website. We'll have them up and you can listen to them again and learn more about what's going on. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Tara.
See you
Thanks,
later.
Summer.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.